White House advisor Jared Kushner, who is also his son-in-law.
This is the Romanovs. Just a thought. The Romanovs. Is it?
Well, I mean, that's certainly something.
Is it a royal family instead of a Democratic or Republican form of government, or is it a family running the government? Is it Ivanka and Jared and the president sitting around in the White House upstairs ruling the world? You know, one good thing Mussolini did was execute his son-in-law. I mean, I'm sorry, Cacciano.
Mussolini. Oh. President Trump's counselor, Kellyanne Conway, spoke about the media this morning.
It's incredible to watch people play armchair psychologist, outwardly ridiculing the president's physicalities, his mental state, calling him names that you wouldn't want your children to call people on a playground. You would punish them for doing that. And then all of a sudden feigning shock when he wants to fight back and defend himself and hopefully change the conversation, because the conversation right now is a one-way conversation of toxicity.
Gutfeld, I think the media is used to destroying Republican politicians, and Trump won't play that game, and now they're flailing because they don't have a plan B.
You know, I want to ask a couple of questions here, test your memory. Do you remember when Donald Trump jokingly threatened to hit Mika with a backhand? That was Joe Scarborough, January 30th, 2008.
Okay.
Do you remember?
Jesse out.
When Donald Trump asked if Fred Thompson's wife, Jerry, works the poll? Oh. No, sorry, that was Joe Scarborough, June 4th, 2007.
Okay, good.
Do you remember when Donald Trump asked a group of people if they should vote on whether Miss California, Carrie Breesian, was actually good looking? Oh, no, that was Joe Scarborough, May 13th, 2009. So who is sexist? Who is sexist here? Can we please stop turning this pretentious pair into victims, because they've been trafficking in this stuff forever. The entire staff of Morning Joe, as we saw by those clips, are a bunch of hypocritical drama queens. They cultivated this relationship with Donald Trump. They kissed his butt. They rip him when they felt that it benefits them, so they gain respect at cocktail parties. Then they try to reel him back in and cultivate his friendship so he might do the show. So it went back and forth. Like they are actually a media swamp.
I would agree with you, but I would say
Juan jumping in.
I like what you just did. I would agree with you that they can be pretentious and self-serving, because I think all of us in the media, we're all about the ratings and being self-serving. But let me just say, when you said
yourself, Juan.
Oh yeah, no, we don't care.
Don't throw us in the swamp with you, please.
Oh, is that right? It's swamp to say we care about success? No,
I'm all for a mud bath, but not a swamp.
Okay. But I would say, wait a minute. Even if you were arguing that they might be guilty of some sexism, I don't think you can get away from look at that face on Carly Fiorina, or oh, there's Hillary Clinton. I was watching from behind.
The party that defended Bill Clinton in the White House with Monica Lewinsky has no standing to talk about dignity in the White House.
Are you kidding? That's where your argument goes? That's the best you can do?
That's pretty good.
I can do better than that.
Oh, good. I want to hear.
Okay, Megan.
So it's really easy to forget that these same hosts came after my show and came after me and my co-hosts, not only for the way we look, but what we wear on television, which is the very definition of misogyny and sexism. So just let me finish. Something that I found deeply offensive: all the women that come on Fox News, especially on Outnumbered, are very capable, strong, independent, intelligent women. It's why Fox puts us on television. But Mika Brzezinski said that we were just legs and dresses and short skirts, I believe was the exact quote. That is the definition of misogyny. Did that get any media attention?
Yeah.
No, it did not get the same kind of media
attention. But let me ask you something. Are you guys now telling me that Mika and Joe are the president? They're at that level?
There's deep hypocrisy going on when you can say these things about conservative women on television. And again, I don't condone what the president tweeted. I think as a general rule, men shouldn't talk about women's cosmetic surgery just as a blanket overall statement. That being said, the idea that they are somehow these martyrs of the media and that somehow they are above all the list that you just said, Greg, is absolute hypocrisy. They're using this and using these tweets to go after President Trump right now and using it to weaponize these things against him. And I think at a certain point, the media needs to stop acting so hysterical over a tweet when we can point to things like, I grew up and learned about certain sexual things I can't say on television because President Clinton was president when I was coming up in my formative years. So let's just stop
with the idea
of comparing. But let's not compare a tweet to what happened in the Oval Office.
You know what Tucker Carlson said?
Get to respond.
You know what Tucker Carlson said yesterday? He said, the president's tweet brought joy to his enemies, and made his supporters ashamed. Now, you stop and think about that. In other words, it actually not only distracted from his agenda, which is like a serious political argument, but you see Republicans and people who've defended him, Sean Hannity, Jeffrey Lord over at CNN, saying, this was not a good thing to do.
I did not defend the tweet, but I'm saying this media reaction that's going on right now is so completely overblown. And the idea that Joe and Mika Brzezinski are somehow these tenets of feminism or ideals in one way or another is absolute absurdity.
Kimberly, let me get you in here for a second, because Morning Joe has been a platform for a lot of misogyny when it comes to attacking Sarah Palin's personal appearance, the way she speaks, her family life. They don't really have a solid ground to stand on when it comes to calling Donald Trump sexist, do they?
No, and by the way, this is the best thing to happen to them, okay? They're trying to push Joe's album. They want to be hipster.
Wait, has this all been planned? Is this pre-planned?
No, really.
To sell Joe's album?
This whole thing where before, President Trump used to go on the show when he was, DJT. Now they're like, oh, no, we're so offended by him. And I think it's part of their whole desire to be, like, culturally acceptable and cool.
Right.
And he released, like, the video with his hair spiky.
It's bizarre.
And, like, Mika swooning over him. And, by the way, they love this. They're, like, laughing. And because now they feel like, okay, we're, like, superstars here. Everyone's talking about us. We're getting, like, the sympathy. And everybody's bandwagoning on our side. Because before he was supposed to be a conservative, but when Hannity called him liberal.
So Donald Trump, can I just say, Donald Trump is the best thing to happen to Mika since she stole Dana Perino's haircut.
Oh, wow.
Way to stick up for
Those are fighting words.
I know. The old haircut.
Right, the old haircut.
I will say you're making the point,
Glad you're keeping track.
But for anyone who lives outside the Beltway, I have good friends that I speak to all the time, grew up in Phoenix, still live in Phoenix. They've never heard of Joe and Mika. Like, I had friends texting me, asking me, who are these people? I don't know who they are.
Right.
And the fact that we've given them, the president has given them this attention is unfortunate.
Great point. So she makes a point that basically the country has no idea who Mika Brzezinski is. They can't even pronounce her name. So they see Donald Trump hitting back at a weak MSNBC anchor, and they think, you know what? If he fights back that hard over his brand being attacked on cable news, he's going to fight back that much harder when America is attacked by our enemies.
Wow, what a leap, because it looked to me like he's thin-skinned, like he's just jumping at as what you guys described, what Megan described as a little-known cable talk show, not getting great ratings, and yet he is in there with vulgar, arguably misogynistic comments to this woman about blood. And let me just say,
it was about her surgery. He was actually telling her she had. It was a surgery.
Come on, Greg.
No, it was like she was
She was bleeding badly from her facelift.
Listen,
I want to give him every
He was saying, get a better doctor.
Okay. Like bleeding badly on the carpet at Mar-a-Lago.
What about Scarborough's comment today that says basically, the president said, oh, you know what, I'll intervene with the National Enquirer to stop an embarrassing story if you guys apologize to me. What is this? That look like extortion?
And then he was asked to reveal his sources on this, and he's saying he won't. So again, if you're going to make an allegation like that against the president of the United States, you should bring up to it.
Fake news.
Speaking of fake news, I want to look at a Gallup poll. Only 27% of Americans this year say they have a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in newspapers. So as much as you like to talk about how Donald Trump is this or that, no one is believing you.
What?
I'm talking about the polls right now.
Well, let's talk about polls. Because if you look at it, they don't believe cable news.
That a real news?
They don't believe newspapers. And this has been going on for years, not just now with this incident. This is, in fact, trust in American institutions, but the press has gone down. So you're right about that. But remember, Donald Trump's approval ratings are like mid-30s. He's not much higher than the press.
And you know what? The Democrats' approval ratings are lower than Trump. So don't try to tout that.
What are you talking about?
Kimberly Guilfoyle, I have a question for you.
That's not true.
Donald Trump doesn't pretend he's an aristocrat. He doesn't pretend that he's this blue-blooded Bush dynasty.
Careful what you say about dynasty.
To my son. Sorry, no offense, Meghan McCain.
Keep it.
So
it's a low blow.
The media doesn't understand.
I love the McCain family. Everyone knows.
The media has not accepted the fact that Donald Trump is a street fighter.
Right.
And they're constantly surprised. When are they going to give the guy the respect he deserves? Because he took down the Bush dynasty, took down the Clinton dynasty, took down about 17 Republican presidential candidates.
Strong candidates.
When are they going to give the guy the respect he deserves?
Well, listen, I don't know. I mean, if they actually pay attention to the series of accomplishments and the agenda that he wants to put forward, perhaps, I mean, if he has a pro-growth economy, I think perhaps no one will be able to deny the accomplishment.
Right.
But the problem is they want him to magically transform out of Aladdin's lamp into somebody that he's not. And the reason he won is because he's not your average politician, and the working class men and women across this country and a lot more people actually related to him, believed him, trusted him to go in there and do something radically different in Washington. And that's why he won. And the poor candidate of Hillary Clinton, which was a rejection of that establishment kind of candidate and Clinton corruption, did not prevail.
But I don't think people bought into this kind of behavior.
Well,
you know,
okay,
you guys always want to say, oh, Juan, it's the liberals, it's the Democrats, it's the media.
Can I respond to Kimberly?
Let me just finish this point. I'll finish this point, Greg. I'll cede the floor to you. But I just want to say, I listened to Republicans. I listened to Charles Krauthammer last night on Special Report say, you know, this guy, it reminds me of a Duarte, however you pronounce the Filipino dictator's name, or Hugo Chavez. That this is not normal. This is crazy, this behavior by this president.
Okay.
I listened to Republicans in the Senate. I listened to Murkowski, Graham, Collins.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Can I tell you why?
Please.
Because these are words and not deeds. You need to reframe this. You need to look at it the way a lot of people now look at it, include Condoleezza Rice and myself. I will take the little stuff if somebody is right on the big stuff. If you believe that ISIS must be destroyed, and then guess what? You destroy it, which is happening, I can live with a few misguided tweets. I can live with a bit of rudeness.
Okay.
I can live with a bit of obnoxiousness or crassness if I realize that probably the worst group of people that ever existed right now are being incinerated in the desert.
Coming up, more immigration madness in San Francisco. You won't believe what the sanctuary city did.
A whopping $190,000 in a settlement. Why? Because police officers turned him over to federal immigration authorities in violation of the city's sanctuary city policy. The settlement was announced on the same day that the House passed Kate's Law, which gets tougher on illegal immigrants who repeatedly defy deportation. Kate's Law is named after 32-year-old Kate Steinle, who was allegedly murdered by a 5-time deported Mexican national. Tomorrow marks the 2-year anniversary of her death.
The day she was killed, we were walking arm in arm on Pier 14 in San Francisco, enjoying a wonderful day together. Suddenly a shot rang out. Kate fell, looked at me and said, "Help me, Dad." Those are the last words I will ever hear from my daughter.
All right, so Jesse, you've covered this a lot, and I have as well, and very disturbing to me. I was a prosecutor in the city of San Francisco, and I saw this policy at work, and it was just abhorrent, and then to see a loss of life like this, it was so preventable.
I just want to thank Bill O'Reilly for pushing this Kate's Law situation. He was a driving force behind this legislation, and he deserves a lot of credit for this. And the Steinle family, I'm sure, owes him a lot of credit. And I think we should honor the Kate Steinle family tonight because this was a preventable death.
Yes, it was.
When you come back over and over and over and over again 5 times after being convicted of a felony, and still are allowed to just live freely in the city of San Francisco, it's just abhorrent. And, you know, the Sanctuary City Defunding Act, that was good from Congress. The Kate's Law, that was good from Congress. You know, that's just one step. We have to build the wall. We have to put these people behind bars. You know, it's not just good enough to give lip service to this situation because, you know, I know President Trump knows these families personally,
yes,
and I respect that. But, you know, to have Americans die at the hands of illegal immigrants that are already convicted and don't belong in the country, it's just wrong. And San Francisco's out of control. You know, if you're an illegal immigrant and you get paid to be arrested, it's ridiculous. You know, San Francisco's out of control. They have people, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors.
Well, you've been there.
I have, and I've reported on this a lot. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors, I mean, it's almost better to be a conservative than be an illegal alien in San Francisco. They ban paper bags. They ban plastic bags. You're not allowed to get circumcised there.
Oh.
You could be nude there with a permit. It's disgusting. This place is out of control. It's the People's Republic of San Francisco. It's no wonder these things happen in San Francisco.
Right.
And, you know, I know you have a personal connection there, so I don't want to really drive the point home too much, KG.
Yeah, you haven't said enough.
But the city is not a good city if you're a regular citizen.
Can we point out the amazing absurdity of this? An illegal sued the city because the city violated a law that encourages violating the law. That he won 109. He won 200 grand. It's like rewarding a guy for looting during a riot.
Yes.
San Francisco is like the funhouse mirror of cities. Everything is reversed or upside down.
So true. But I lived in Los Angeles for about 2 years, and I would say it's just as bad as San Francisco, if not worse. The left is losing the culture war. I think if the last election proved nothing else, it proved that. And I think part of the problem is when you have a group of people who are saying, people who commit felonies, you can just come in and out of the country and do whatever you want. And by the way, you have a whole section of a state where you can also do whatever you want. And by the way, my tax dollars are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I don't care how you feel about immigration. I tend to be a little bit more moderate than the hardline people that have ultimately won elections. But this makes people like me even more extreme. And I think until the left understands that when you do things like this and shove laws like this down the American people's throat, it makes people like me join the other side, which could be really dangerous.
All right, so Juan, I don't know.
You look
Go ahead. I'm hoping
Juan,
to hear something wonderful. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to correct the record. The man was not arrested. They found his stolen car. And they asked him to come into the office to get his stolen car. And then they discover, oh, well, gee whiz. And then, again,
Wait, what?
He had
Let him go.
Look at this.
Let him go.
Is she was appointed?
Gregory
He had an arrest. No, you left it out. You left it out. No, you avoided the truth.
Nicholson,
You
can't
hopscotched over the truth.
No, I'm not hopscotching. The truth is he came in because they said we have a stolen. We found your car.
And he had an arrest warrant.
I researched the sanctuary city policy situation because I know you said last show that sanctuary cities are safer. Phoenix got rid of their sanctuary city policy, and you know what happened? Crime went down by 25%.
I see.
Property crime went down 25%.
I don't know the numbers,
Sheriff's Association in Phoenix
said
they'd prefer to have a non-sanctuary city
But the
policy.
weirdest part about this is you defend an illegal immigrant who's a felon, but you probably wouldn't defend a felon who's legally here. That's the strangest part of this argument.
Any felon.
No, it's not strange. You just defended that man.
Let me just say.
You just defended that man. No.
And you're mad at
I was stating the facts because the facts were not properly presented on our show.
The left does it all the time.
The fact is the guy was not arrested. He came in because of a stolen car that was found.
This is what you're not getting.
Stop filibustering. You can commit crimes in this. You can commit crimes in this country, and people on the left will ultimately.
I'm not defending any felons. I'm simply saying to you, for example,
that you
said, Megan, a minute ago, you can come into this country illegally.
It's a ridiculous conversation.
No, it's the five.
It's the five. And we're having a great time. But
This isn't a special report. So
Kate's law simply increased the penalty from the existing penalty. It's illegal to come into the country if you've done it and you've committed a crime.
You've hit a whole
an arrest warrant, Juan. You left that out.
Yeah, the police officer did the job that he swore an oath to do, which was the guy had an arrest warrant. You've got to take him into custody. He's supposed to follow the law.
And he got 200 grand out of it. You should be happy.
And this guy gets paid.
I should be happy.
This is what's going wrong with this country and why people end up dead, because people make apologies for this kind of behavior and they don't want to put him in cuffs. Ahead. Some more strong words from President Trump today for North Korea. They have it coming.
To discuss their joint adversary, the nuclear-armed North Korea. Mr. Trump had some harsh words for the Hermit Kingdom.
Together we are facing the threat of the reckless and brutal regime in North Korea. The nuclear and ballistic missile programs of that regime require a determined response. The era of strategic patience with the North Korean regime has failed. Many years, and it's failed. And frankly, that patience is over.
That's right.
Greg, what do you think this means? By the way, I heard you say you liked Hermit Kingdom.
Hermit Kingdom sounds like more fun than it really is. It's like an amusement park. You could go and there's all these little people and you can go on rides, but it's not.
Oh, I've seen a thing perfect for you.
It's in the Ukraine.
Perfect.
Here's the thing. We should have let North Korea keep Dennis Rodman because that would qualify as germ warfare. I want to I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to defend something about North Korea. North Korea is a terrible place. It's the world's largest prison. They brutalize their people. There needs a regime change. But I understand their logic with nuclear weapons. What they're doing is they're saying, if you can have them, why can't I? They're basically applying the Second Amendment. They're applying the Second Amendment to nukes. To nukes. They're saying, like, you know, we have a right to self-defense. And it's like, we have to come to grips with that logic. We have to put ourselves in their shoes and go, okay, we would never give up our nukes. So we have to talk to them and figure out, okay, you can have your self-defense, but somehow you have to join the world. You have to join the world, because if you don't join the world, then we're taking this stuff away.
But they don't join the world. They don't follow the rules. That's the problem. So there's just, you know, it's a completely high-risk situation that you can't, that's untenable. But don't worry, because President Trump is here. No, it's really true. Wait and see.
Can I add on to that?
What does that mean?
But it's not just President
I can't
Trump.
actually tell you.
But that's you're on a wait. You're on a show. You can't say I'm not going to tell you.
I will add on to this because he has an absolutely
rhymes with ill.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I will
say. A poison pill? I know.
What I do know, and everyone knows, is that he has an absolute A-team when it comes to national security.
Yes.
McMaster, Mattis, absolute. If I could manifest in my fantasy who would keep America safe, these two men are at the top of it. Absolute generals that, let me finish, please, okay? Wow. So I will say that, number one. The problem is we're dealing with an irrational actor. Kim Jong-un makes Putin and Bashar al-Assad look like normal people. So going forward, I think we have a president who has proven time and time again that if they continue to do missile tests in Pyongyang, obviously he's going to probably ultimately use force in one capacity or another, but I have never felt more secure about the future of this country under the leadership right now, specifically not just President Trump, but if you don't know enough about the two men that are our Secretary of Defense 100%. And his National Security Advisor, I mean, it is the absolute A-team.
And our Homeland Security,
that those advisors that you just cited, those advisors you just cited,
listening to them as well, by the way,
have said that if we have to get involved militarily, millions will die. Remember, we have 28,000 troops right there, and of course, the South Korean people are right there.
Right.
So let me ask you this,
It's going to be regime change and
today the big news was this. President Trump took steps against China for not helping to rein in the South Koreans. He says now he's going to impose sanctions on banks.
You mean the North Koreans?
On the North Koreans. Thank you very much. On the banks, on 2 citizens, on a shipping company, and he's going to sell weapons to Taiwan, which, you know, the Chinese just go crazy when you say you're going to do any business with Taiwan.
Good. I think Trump's had enough with China. I think he gave China a chance, and China failed to deliver. And now we're going to impose sanctions on China, and we'll see what the after effects are. I think North Korea is poison. I think, as George W. Bush said, it's the axis of evil. It's a cancer, and we've let it metastasize over the last 10 years. Otto, the way they treated Otto, is so disgusting that I think every American, every patriot, and Kimberly touched on this the other day, everyone that has a beating heart in this country wants to avenge Otto's death. There's gulags in this country, in North Korea. The only way to solve the North Korean crisis is a coup, I believe. There's no way, I think, you know, massive missile strikes or an invasion. It has to be a coup.
But China has to help with this.
China has to help with this.
That is what he expects.
And you know what? And I think Trump's running out of patience.
But they do have
and I think China knows that.
China tell you how this is going to be done.
But I want to talk about what you just said about China.
Right. Okay.
So, but he had that breakfast meeting where the great chocolate cake was served with the president of China, and he said China's going to help us.
Chocolate cake.
And for breakfast, you said?
It wasn't for breakfast.
Well, I didn't say it.
I've had chocolate cake for breakfast. It's weird.
All right,
You're making me hungry, Juan.
But now the president, clearly antagonistic towards China for failing to help, says he's going to have exercises, military exercises with the Japanese and with India in the Indian Ocean. And the Chinese, again, are like, you're coming into our neighborhood and you're acting like a bully.
Oh, my God. Please stop. China
shut down their economy.
She knows that's smart because, you know what, we've had enough of China. We're using India to play off China. We're using Japan to play off China. And South Korea. We're encircling China.
Right.
China's had enough.
So here's the deal. So this is what President Trump is very good at, and he is not afraid to push back. And he's like, listen, I gave you a chance. We sat across, the table from each other. You gave me your word. This situation is completely spiraled out of control. you act or we will act. And the thing is that people know, and these other world leaders know, that when President Trump says it, he will do it. People are upset and squishy about tweets.
Big news.
Give me a break.
Big news about the GOP's effort to end Obamacare once and for all. That story next. Stay with us.
The clock is ticking, so stay. All you have to do is wait. The second you hit USA, it was